6 years earlier, the scene opens with the sound of rock music playing, filling the room with its energetic beats. The walls are adorned with horror stories and the desk is filled with books and rock band posters, creating a cool and vibrant atmosphere. In the midst of this, we see Jungyeong, totally engrossed in watching rock band music videos on her device. She finds the musicians captivating and imagines herself rocking out on the stage just like them. Suddenly, her moment of enjoyment is interrupted by someone's voice, asking her to turn down the volume of the music. Jungyeong quickly obliges, not wanting to cause any trouble. She reflects on her life in middle school, where she enjoys the freedom to listen to her favorite music and indulge in cartoons and movies to her heart's content. The scene transitions to a classroom, where Jungyeong sits at her desk, engrossed in her book while still softly listening to her music. However, her peaceful moment is shattered when her desk is abruptly kicked by another girl. Startled and scared, Jungyeong looks up, questioning who it is. Two bullies confront Jungyeong, taunting her for not responding to their calls. They mockingly label her as a loser, further belittling her. The bullies demand that Jungyeong get them dumplings as they give her money to buy dumplings. Feeling intimidated and cornered, Jungyeong reluctantly agrees to their demand to buy them dumplings. We find Jungyeong standing in line at the snack bar, waiting to buy dumplings for the bullies. As she places her order and receives the dumplings, she starts walking back to her class, feeling content with her life despite a few inconveniences at school. However, as Jungyeong walks toward her class, an unexpected mishap occurs. She trips on someone's extended leg, causing her to stumble and drop the dumplings on the ground. The impact leaves her with injured knees, and she looks horrified at the ruined dumplings she was supposed to give the bullies. A voice apologizes to Jungyeong and says that she must have tripped on their long and beautiful legs and tells Jungyeong that he was just sitting there for a minute feeling lonely. Jungyeong looks up and recognizes the person as the famous guy from the cafeteria. She nervously assures him that it's okay, thinking to herself about his striking appearance and popularity. The man's expression changes when he notices the music Jungyeong was listening to on her MP3 player. He asks if it's Marilyn Manson's music, and Jungyeong confirms it. The man hands back her MP3 player and compliments her great taste in music. Flustered but pleased with the compliment, Jungyeong thanks him. It turns out that the cafeteria guy and Jungyeong have encountered each other several times before, and he has knowledge about her love for rock and metal bands. They often discuss and share their musical interests whenever they run into each other, creating a connection between them beyond the typical student interactions. Jungyeong feels a sense of warmth whenever she talks to him and cherishes their encounters. We see Jungyeong blushing while daydreaming about the guy from the cafeteria. She wonders if he likes her too. In her excitement, she playfully smacks her pillow on the bed while thinking about him. Jungyeong has 2 tickets to a rock band concert and decides to give them to the cafeteria guy, believing he will enjoy it. She feels happy and anticipates the moment she can present the tickets to him. However, her happiness is shattered when she overhears some other girls talking about how their friend, Semi, is dating the cafeteria guy. The news shocks Jungyeong, and she feels heartbroken. The girls praise Semi, calling her a goddess, which adds to Jungyeong's pain. Unable to bear the disappointment, Jungyeong tears the concert tickets into pieces, feeling crushed by the reality that her hopes were dashed. She runs outside the classroom, tears streaming down her face, while lamenting that she and the cafeteria guy had so much in common. As she stands outside, Jungyeong reflects on her thoughts. She questions herself for having the wild idea that things might work out with the cafeteria guy. She compares herself to Semi, believing her appearance to be ordinary and unattractive, thinking that no one would ever like someone like her. Looking at her reflection in a car window, she sees Semi as the epitome of beauty, further devaluing her self-image. As Jungyeong arrives home, she calls out for her mom and urgently asks for an eye-lift job as soon as possible. Confused, her mom questions what Jungyeong is talking about. Jungyeong's sister thinks it might be a result of puberty hitting her. However, their mom scolds Jungyeong for even considering plastic surgery, expressing her disappointment and wishing that Jungyeong could be half as good as her older sister. To add insult to injury, Jungyeong's brother, sitting on the couch, joins in and tells her that she isn't that pretty, and even with an eye job, she'd still be ugly. Hurt and angry, Jungyeong retorts, questioning her mom why she made her siblings look good while making her look ugly. She even goes as far as suggesting that she might be adopted, expressing her frustration and hatred toward her mom. Slamming the door, Jungyeong storms out of the house. Inside, her mom wonders what might have gotten into Jungyeong all of a sudden. Her sister tries to explain that, at Jungyeong's age, she might be sensitive about her looks and asks their mom to be understanding. However, her sister also agrees that Jungyeong is the less attractive one in the family, wondering why she was born that way. Their mom, however, shuts down any further discussion, telling her sister to stay out of it. Inside Jungyeong's room, we see her crying with a pillow over her face. Despite feeling upset at her mom, Jungyeong opens her phone and realizes she shouldn't have lashed out at her. Seeking some solace, she turns to social media and makes a post expressing her deep sadness. In the post, she mentions having a crush on a guy at school who seemed to share many interests with her. She had hoped for a connection, but she was wrong. The guy ended up liking the pretty girl instead. She writes about the heartache of feeling ugly and unwanted. After some time, Jungyeong checks the comments on her post. People have responded, offering advice and support. Some suggest the importance of a person's appearance and mention makeup. Jungyeong is told that makeup can make a significant difference, and even though she might feel ugly now, makeup can boost her confidence and transform her looks. Intrigued, she clicks on a link that takes her to a website showcasing the miracle of makeup. There, she witnesses an ugly woman transformed into a stunning one through makeup techniques. Jungyeong is astonished and believes that makeup might be the solution she needs to become beautiful. The idea sparks a glimmer of hope in her heart. We see Jungyeong hastily leaving her house to buy makeup. Her mom asks her where she's going, and we learn that when Jungyeong first started using makeup, she only used BB cream, lip tint, and eyeliner. Returning to her room, Jungyeong sits in front of a mirror and begins applying the makeup. However, she questions herself, unsure if she's doing it correctly. Jungyeong starts with the BB cream, then carefully applies the eyeliner. She wonders if she's doing it right. Finally, she puts on the lip tint, pleased with the color. After finishing her makeup, she looks at her reflection in the mirror and takes a picture to examine her transformation. While she feels like something might be missing, she still believes her face looks better than before. As she sits on her bed, Jungyeong's brother enters her room without knocking. Irritated, she calls him a lunatic. However, when he sees her with makeup, shock registers on his face, and he drops the clothes he was carrying. Jungyeong asks for his opinion, but her brother awkwardly stammers that her eyes hurt him and jokes about her face being blinding enough to make a man go blind at first sight. This angers Jungyeong, and she throws a toilet paper roll at him as he quickly runs away. Feeling upset and confused, Jungyeong returns to the mirror, wondering what the problem is. She questions if her makeup looks weird but ultimately believes that, to her, it looks better than before. The next day, Jungyeong arrives at school with her makeup on, feeling both excited and nervous. As she walks through the halls, she notices that everyone's glancing at her, which makes her even more self-conscious but makes her believe that it is just how pretty girls are looked at. Jungyeong tries to stay calm as she enters her classroom and takes her seat, but the looks from the other girls intensify her anxiety. To her dismay, the other girls burst out laughing when they see her makeup. Some cruelly comment that she must be going for an old-fashioned makeup look, while others mockingly suggest she used a black marker to draw on her eyes. The laughter and taunts pierce through Jungyeong's heart, leaving her completely crushed. She can't bear the humiliation and starts to believe that, despite the makeup, she is still seen as an ugly girl. As Jungyeong arrives home, she decides to seek feedback on her makeup by posting a photo on social media. She's surprised to receive several comments on her post. Some comments are unkind, questioning if she really went out with her makeup looking like that and jokingly asking if she used a black marker for her eye lines. However, amidst the negative comments, Jungyeong also receives helpful advice. Some users suggest she start by fixing her eyebrows, comparing them to caterpillars, and recommend using an app to clean them up. Jungyeong realizes they are right and wishes she had fixed her eyebrows first. One comment catches her attention, suggesting she check out the third best post. Curious, Jungyeong opens it and finds a post about double eyelid glue and eye lenses. The post shows before and after pictures of using these products, promising a transformation in appearance. It even provides information on which products to use. Jungyeong is intrigued but also skeptical, wondering how such products could really make a difference in her appearance. However, she starts considering the possibilities and contemplates trying them out. Jungyeong is determined to give it a try, so she takes out her savings to buy the recommended beauty products. Excited and nervous, she gets ready to go out and informs her mom that she'll be out for a bit. Jungyeong visits multiple beauty product stores, spending nearly an hour carefully selecting the products she needs. Finally, with her purchases in hand, she returns home feeling tired but hopeful. As she stands in front of her mirror, surrounded by all the beauty products, Jungyeong contemplates where to start. She lays out all the products she bought, realizing that she has spent all her savings on them. Despite being financially drained, she remains optimistic that these products might help her gain the confidence she longs for. Jungyeong takes a deep breath and begins her journey of self-transformation with newfound determination. We find Jungyeong sitting in front of the mirror, ready to trim her eyebrows. As she trips her eyebrows, she is nervous if she went too far. She reassures herself that she can always draw them on if needed. With determination, she takes out the double eyelid glue and carefully applies it to her eyelids. At first, the application proves challenging, but Jungyeong persists, trying again and again until she gets it right. Finally, she manages to fold her eyelids to create the desired look. She smiles, realizing how hard it was to master the glue. Next, Jungyeong curls her eyelashes with an eyelash curler and puts on her eye lenses. As she applies mascara to her lashes, she can hardly believe the transformation she sees in the mirror. She feels like a completely different person. After finishing her makeup, Jungyeong gazes at her reflection, stunned by the beautiful face staring back at her. She can't believe that it's her own reflection. With a newfound sense of confidence, she takes a photo of herself and posts it on social media, seeking feedback on her makeup, mentioning that she followed the advice from another post. Jungyeong's post receives an overwhelming number of positive comments, with many people praising her makeup skills and suggesting that she must have natural beauty. Some even question if she's the same person as before due to the remarkable transformation. Filled with happiness and newfound confidence, Jungyeong screams in delight, leaving her brother in another room wondering if she's lost her mind. From that day onward, Jungyeong immerses herself in the world of beauty blogs and makeup magazines, spending her entire winter vacation practicing different makeup looks. As the vacation comes to an end, she takes a deep breath and enters her new school with a stunning new appearance. Her beauty turns heads as she steps into the classroom, marking the beginning of her new life. While she hopes that being in a new school will prevent others from recognizing her, Jungyeong realizes that she doesn't have any friends in the unfamiliar environment. Despite her initial worries about approaching new people, she reminds herself that she's accustomed to being on her own. Her only wish is that no one picks on her for being different. To her surprise, instead of negative reactions, people at the new school are captivated by her beauty. They shower her with compliments, calling her pretty and beautiful. At first, Jungyeong feels shy, but her newfound confidence gradually takes over. She realizes that all the effort she put into practicing during winter vacation has paid off, and she's thrilled to start her new chapter with a radiant smile on her face. Two girls approach her, introducing themselves as Charon An and Sua Kong. They immediately compliment Jungyeong on her beauty and ask for her name. Jungyeong introduces herself as Jungyeong Lim, and the girls are even more impressed. They request her phone number, eager to become friends with her. Meanwhile, some boys at school notice Jungyeong's stunning post on Facebook. One of them recognizes her as Jungyeong from class 2 and asks his friend if he can introduce him to her, even outside of school. Other boys can't help but glance at Jungyeong, captivated by her beauty. As Jungyeong arrives home, she removes her makeup, revealing her true appearance. Her brother, noticing the stark difference, comments on how she looks like a completely different person. Jungyeong, irritated by his attitude, warns him not to act like they know each other in public. However, her brother takes a picture of her without makeup and tries to use it against her, threatening to show it to everyone. An angry Jungyeong demands he hand over the picture, but they eventually reach a compromise. She agrees to buy him chicken in exchange for the photo. At home, Jungyeong enjoys her hobbies, like reading manga, without any worries. She reflects on how different it is at school, where she is labeled as the pretty girl and has to maintain her image constantly. The pressure to uphold her appearance and cannot even eat as much as she wants, and the expectations that come with it can be exhausting, but she acknowledges that her makeup has made her school life much smoother. As the years go by, Jungyeong's high school journey is relatively uneventful, until she enters her third year and meets someone who will change everything. We see Jungyeong heading to a comic shop without wearing any makeup, and her brother asks her to bring him some ice cream. Inside the store, Jungyeong is delighted by the familiar smell of the comic store, calling it heaven. She scans through the new releases and is pleasantly surprised to find a book titled Creepy Tales by Ito Junji, whom she considers the master of horror comics. Just as she's about to grab the comic, someone else's hand touches hers, causing her to jump back in surprise. Turning around, Jungyeong sees a boy staring at her. She becomes shy and shocked, thinking he might be a celebrity living in her neighborhood. The boy glances at the comic Jungyeong is holding and claims that he saw it first, quickly snatching it from the shelf and heading to the counter to purchase it. This unexpected encounter leaves Jungyeong confused and a bit angry, thinking the boy didn't need to act so arrogantly even if he saw the book first. As she leaves the store, Jungyeong tries to brush off the situation, considering it ridiculous to dwell on the boy's actions. She questions the logic of his claiming a book just because he saw it first and calls him a douche. Returning home, she hands over the ice cream to her brother, casually mentioning that she heard about him dating someone. Her brother is curious about the source of the information, but Jungyeong playfully teases him, suggesting that his girlfriend probably looks just like her without makeup. This annoys her brother, but Jungyeong advises him to face reality rather than hold on to false expectations. With that, he tells her to leave him alone. The next day, we see Jungyeong asking her mom about her bag, but her mom informs her that it's not dry yet and suggests taking another bag. Jungyeong insists that it's her only good bag, but her mom insists on using an old one, leaving Jungyeong no choice. She feels anxious and embarrassed about wearing her old middle school bag to school, hoping no one will notice. In school, Jungyeong chats with her friend Suho Kang, who tells her about attending a K-pop concert last weekend. Jungyeong admires Suho Kang's luck but suddenly spots the boy from the comic store walking in front of them. She quickly remembers him as the jerk from yesterday and hides her face, afraid of being recognized. Jungyeong wonders why he's at her school, and Suho Kang reveals he's a new transfer student. Everyone is going crazy over his looks, and his name is Suho Lee. However, there are rumors that he's a jerk and possibly a sociopath, which surprises Jungyeong. She never imagined he'd end up in her school, and she fears being recognized by him. Jungyeong's friends attribute Suho's perceived jerkiness to his good looks and share that he was a top student at his previous school. Despite the rumors, Jungyeong feels sympathy for Suho, as he's receiving so much attention despite being new. She questions if he's genuinely a sociopath. At that moment, a teacher, Mr. Han, arrives and asks if they're coming back from lunch. Jungyeong's friends admire Mr. Han, finding him dreamy, and they jokingly worry about him getting married, as they'd be heartbroken. All three of them share their admiration for him. We see Jungyeong contemplating why Suho had to end up at the same school as her. She worries that even people from the convenience store and their next-door neighbor can't tell the difference between her with makeup and without. She feels anxious about being discovered, but she tries to reassure herself that Suho won't recognize her. As she ponders this, her friend Suho Kang approaches and asks if Jungyeong wants to buy lip gloss, mentioning that it's on sale. Jungyeong realizes she almost forgot about it and agrees to go together. Leaving the classroom, Jungyeong tells Suho Kang about the amazing water tint she's tried. As they walk outside, Jungyeong's skeleton keychain breaks and the body of the keychain falls on the ground without her noticing. Behind Jungyeong, Suho sees the keychain part fall and picks it up. Inside a cafe, Jungyeong and Suho Kang chat with each other. Suho suggests that Jungyeong should stock up on lip tint, and Jungyeong jokingly says she would buy all of it if she had the money. She then encourages Suho to try on the lip tint she just bought, complimenting how gorgeous Suho looks. Suho asks Jungyeong to take a picture of her with the new lip tint, and Jungyeong obliges, lying on the floor to get the perfect angle. While taking the photo, Jungyeong hears a song she recognizes, admiring the cafe owner's taste in music. Suho, on the other hand, finds the music creepy, and Jungyeong hesitates to reveal her true opinion, agreeing with Suho to avoid confrontation. As they settle back into their seats, Suho inquires if Jungyeong is taking Japanese as her second language. Jungyeong confirms it's for the social studies credit, and Suho mentions that there's someone named Taehoon in her class who is good at Japanese and wants to study together. She invites Jungyeong to join them, assuring her that she'll help improve her grades. Suho adds that the guy is very handsome, which piques Jungyeong's interest. Eventually, Jungyeong agrees to meet them downtown at the bookstore at 2 o'clock for their Japanese study session. They bid each other goodbye and head home, telling each other to take care. In her room, Jungyeong hugs her pillow, excitedly thinking about the boy Suho told her about. She realizes that today is the day she will talk to a boy, and her heart races with anticipation. Jungyeong can't help but imagine how handsome the boy could be, creating a vivid image of him in her mind. As she looks forward to the study group, she daydreams about sitting next to the boy and growing closer to him. She envisions them going on a date together, feeling hopeful that this could be a way to escape her single life. In her imagination, Jungyeong sees herself learning Japanese from her dream boy, and she believes this is the beginning of a new chapter in her life. However, her daydream is interrupted when her sister barges into her room, asking for a face pack. The following day, Jungyeong's alarm rings, and she decides to go for a more natural look. She takes care of her brown-toned lenses and applies double eyelid glue. After that, she puts on some sunscreen and dabs a CC cushion on her face. Jungyeong then adds a bit of brown eyeshadow for depth, uses an eyelash curler, and applies brown eyeliner for a sweet and innocent look. She adds a dab of peach-colored blush and finishes her makeup with glossy coral lip tint. Satisfied with her appearance, Jungyeong takes a selfie to capture the moment. However, she realizes that it's already 1:45 and quickly messages Sua that she's running a bit late. As she arrives at the bookstore cafe, she feels nervous. Sua waves her over, and when Jungyeong sees two boys with their backs turned to her, she starts to imagine the boy Sua told her about as her dream boy. Gathering her courage, Jungyeong approaches everyone and greets them. To her surprise, the boy Sua mentioned is none other than Suho, the same person from the bookstore. Jungyeong gasps in fear, realizing she's now studying with him. Nervously, she sits beside Sua, apologizes for being late, and tries to stay calm. She wonders if Suho recognizes her but is relieved when she thinks he doesn't. However, as Jungyeong attempts to look at Suho, she finds him staring at her continuously, making her panic. Assuring herself again that Suho doesn't recognize her, she tries to glance at him again, only to find him still staring. This makes Jungyeong think she's in trouble. Throughout the study session, she remains anxious, stealing glances at Suho. Finally, the study session ends, and Jungyeong is relieved. We find Jungyeong in her room, nervously biting her nails, questioning whether Suho recognized her. She recalls his stare but reassures herself that no one can recognize her with makeup, so Suho probably didn't recognize her either. Looking at the books on her desk, she decides she needs some fresh air and decides to return the comic to the store. At the store, while Jungyeong is browsing the comics, she spots a book called Harlem Dunk. Just as she reaches for it, she hears someone behind her asking her to move. To her surprise, it's Suho. Jungyeong gets scared, wondering why she has to run into Suho again. However, she quickly notices that Suho doesn't recognize her, which brings her immense relief and joy. Feeling a bit triumphant, Jungyeong smirks at her anxiety and watches as Suho chooses a comic. She can't help herself and tells Suho that the comic he picked isn't that great. Suho glances at her, and Jungyeong starts to feel nervous again, regretting her comment. But to her surprise, Suho asks for her recommendation with a serious face. Gaining confidence, Jungyeong picks out Sadamu's debut comic, calling it a total masterpiece. She asks Suho if he's read it before, recommending it especially if he enjoys thrillers. Jungyeong adds that there are over 20 volumes in the series. Suho looks at the comic, and instead of being offended, he tells Jungyeong that the comic better not disappoint him. He quickly purchases the comic and leaves without saying thank you. Jungyeong thinks to herself that Suho could have at least said thank you. The next day at school, Jungyeong spots Suho walking down the hall. After realizing that Suho still doesn't recognize her from their previous encounter at the bookstore, Jungyeong gathers her courage to approach and talk to him. However, Suho ignores her, leaving Jungyeong feeling invisible and angry. Despite this, Jungyeong tries again to talk to him, and a cold Suho asks her what she wants. Jungyeong mentions their previous Japanese study session and questions if Suho remembers her. Suho seems indifferent and denies their study session. Suppressing her anger, Jungyeong then asks for Suho's number since she couldn't get it the last time they met. Reluctantly, Suho gives her his number but warns her to only contact him if it's urgent, leaving Jungyeong with the impression that Suho's personality is even worse than the rumors suggested. Later, Jungyeong visits the comic store in an angry mood, hoping to read something really bloody to vent her frustration. However, since she didn't bring her sister, she can't access the adult section. As Jungyeong is about to choose a comic, Suho suddenly appears, looking for her. Jungyeong wonders if Suho works at the store, but he simply tells her that the comic she recommended, by Sadamu, wasn't bad and that he read it in one day. Jungyeong becomes happy after hearing Suho's positive feedback and tells him that she knew the comic would be right up his alley. She offers to recommend more comics, claiming to be an expert in the field, and shows him multiple options that catch his interest. As they leave the store, Jungyeong reminds Suho to check out the blog she recommended. Before she leaves, Suho nervously thanks Jungyeong for the comic recommendations, leaving her shocked and questioning if he's the same guy she knows from school. Sitting in her room, Jungyeong wonders how Suho, who displayed such a jerk-like personality at school, could be the same shy boy she encountered at the bookstore. She questions why Suho is acting so differently in different situations. To seek answers, Jungyeong decides to turn to the internet. She posts about Suho, describing how they often run into each other at the comic shop, but he doesn't recognize her without makeup, assuming she's two different people. Jungyeong calls him a jerk at school, but at the comic shop, he's sweet and kind. She also mentions how she dresses up for school but goes to the comic shop wearing glasses without makeup. The comments on Jungyeong's post suggest various possibilities. Some think that Suho might be uncomfortable around pretty girls and feels more at ease around average girls. Others speculate that there might be something more going on between them. Some commenters even suggest that Suho might like her without makeup, but another comment quickly dismisses that possibility as 0%. Reading the comments, Jungyeong feels shy, while others ask if she looks that different when she wears makeup, making her feel nervous. The online discussions leave Jungyeong more intrigued and confused about Suho's behavior and interactions. Jungyeong calls her brother and asks him what he thinks about girls like her. Her brother, being sarcastic, responds that it's obvious what he thinks. Jungyeong insists on an honest opinion, and her brother tells her that she has a ridiculous face and terrible fashion sense. Despite his harsh words, Jungyeong brushes it off and believes that there must be someone out there who finds her attractive. However, her brother dismisses the idea, telling her that no one would ever be interested in her. Feeling disheartened, Jungyeong washes her face, and though annoyed with her brother knows that what her brother said was true, she can't help but be reminded of all the hurtful experiences she's been through. She recalls moments from her past, such as when she was on a bus, and two boys made hurtful comments about her appearance, calling her an ugly cow. Another memory involves her sister being approached by men while Jungyeong was ignored and overlooked. Jungyeong realizes that she needs to face the reality that someone like Suho would never be interested in a girl like her. Back at the store, Jungyeong is shocked when the shop owner hands her a bag. He explains that a tall, young foreign-looking kid asked him to give the bag to the pimply girl in glasses and sweatsuit who visits the store regularly and that Jungyeong fits that description. Jungyeong is shocked to hear how Suho described her. Curious about what's inside, Jungyeong opens the bag and finds a limited edition comic book signed by Ito Junji himself. To her surprise, there's a note from Suho, expressing gratitude and saying he treasures the book. Touched by this thoughtful gift, Jungyeong wonders how Suho managed to get such a rare item and can't believe his kindness. The next day, we find Jungyeong and the others studying together at the bookstore cafe. Jungyeong can't help but stare at Suho, contemplating his demeanor. She notices that Suho can be nice at times, but also comes off as cold. Jungyeong wonders why it's easier to talk to Suho at the comic shop but impossible to approach him outside. As the group study session ends, Jungyeong and her friend Sua walk together. Sua comments on how strange it is that Suho only talks about school and doesn't engage in any small talk during their study sessions. Jungyeong agrees, but she remembers seeing Suho smile, which Sua hasn't witnessed yet. Sua shares some rumors she heard about Suho being friendlier back in middle school and suggests that something may have happened to change his personality. Nevertheless, Sua remains hopeful about becoming better friends with Suho, and Jungyeong shares that sentiment. After returning home and removing her makeup, Jungyeong's alarm reminds her of the sale at the beauty lab. Excited about the 50% discount, she decides to go without makeup, grabbing her bag before leaving. Jungyeong informs her mom of her plans, who advises her not to stay out too late. At the beauty lab, Jungyeong is astonished to find that the store wasn't exaggerating about the sale and that half the city was in the store. Despite the struggle, she manages to purchase everything she needs even in such a big crowd. However, just as she steps out, someone calls her name, and to her surprise, it's Suho. He recognizes her even without makeup, leaving Jungyeong shocked.
What lies ahead for them as they venture into this mystical world? What do you think will happen next? Don't forget to hit the like button, comment if you want to continue this series, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching.